entrepreneurship when I started my company. So I started my company when I was 23 in 2003. And my definition of entrepreneurship was wanting to do what I wanted to do and not have anybody tell me how to do it, to take off whenever I wanted to because I love to travel. But three, it was just personal success, right? It was how do I achieve more and more and more, and I, being an overachiever growing up, I wanted to have my fate in my own hands. So that was my definition of being and starting a company. I was very excited to get business cards printed that said CEO. I was the CEO of myself, and as my family and my brother reminded me, you're the CEO of one, so that doesn't really count. So in 2003, I was like, screw this, I'm gonna go start my own company. And I did not want to do it under the guise of Viraj Gandhi LLC because that just did not sound cool. So I did it under Paradyme Management. And my cousin helped me with the logo and all of this stuff, and that's when the business cards got printed with CEO. But where I started was DC government. And I got to tell you, I thought I was just going to do it for a year. Because everybody was doing the independent contractor thing, and I was making more money, and clearly I was the CEO of one, so that my confidence was pretty high. But really what came down to was relationships, right? So I had all these relationships because I was working at DC government through this management consulting firm, and when I started my firm, people love the fact that I had the experience, and they can come to me and say, hey Viraj, we need a resource here, we need a resource there. So a lot of it was just networking, learning, and listening. I mean, I do talk a fair amount, and I talk very fast, but at that time, I really listened, and I tried to soak in as much as possible. So, it was a great learning experience, and I think it was after the first couple years where my contract got renewed, where I said to myself, this can actually turn into something, so let me see where it can go. But maturity for me was being able to say no. So the three services that I mentioned at the beginning are still the three core services we do today. So being able to say no to work, right? I wasn't as hustling as I was before. I mean, before it was like, can you do this? Absolutely. And then I would go home and be like, all right, how am I going to do that? Because you got to make a buck, right? That was the bottom line. But 2005, 2006, I was able to say no to the things that we were not good at, and then I found myself really being able to give our clients, which was just the DC government, it was multiple agencies, but I was able to give them 150%. And the work that we did do, the clients were like, this is awesome work, like how do we do more? How do we, where can we recommend you? So 2008 and 2009, I call hitting the stride. I mean, we were in 38 of the 75 operating agencies of the District of Columbia, small contracts. And the part about this was we hired anybody. So if you fit the bill, we would hire you. If you could fit this hole, we would hire you. And the fact of culture just did not even play a part in what I was doing. It was, you can make that widget, I'm going to hire you, right? So I did not really think that Paradyme was its own living and breathing thing, and the people that were part of that represented this living and breathing thing. So definitely a big lesson learned, because when you think you're hiring superstars because of what their resume said, but they really don't fit the culture, it ends up biting you in the ass. Like, I did a lot of triage, right, where I would have to go to the client, and I was billable at that moment as well. I'd have to go to the client and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry what Tom did. I mean, that's just really not who we are. And then the question is, well, who the hell are you, right? So, and it's hard to talk about culture when there was really no culture. Again, I was very, very, very focused on the money. So in 2009, as the financial world crumbled, Visteon filed bankruptcy. So we were left with over $1.5 million that we did not get paid, and for a company that was only $3 million or $2.9 million, that hurt our pockets big time. So we had two choices. It was either to fold, not pay our contractors, because everybody was on this we'll pay you when we get paid term. So we were like, hey, we could tell them we're not getting paid and just kind of walk away. And Eddie, my business partner, and I sat down and we both, I wouldn't say we're religious. I mean, Eddie has a strong belief in his faith. I have a pretty strong belief in my faith. But we both believe in karma. So we said, no, we're not going to do that. And we, out of our pockets and then savings accounts and all that, $972,000 we paid out to people. So as you can probably imagine, my 2009, 10, and 11 was fairly depressing. But you know, it's not how hard you fall, right? It's how quickly you get back up. And I think we had the option to really just let it be and kind of, you know, declare bankruptcy ourselves, or to really figure out how to turn it around. So in 2011, at the later part of the year, the rebuild happened, right? So we determined that the DC government or the local and state government and commercial was just too tumultuous, right? Like you had small contracts that you would bid on, and it would take up all this energy, and you'd win a $500,000 contract for a year and a half. Or in the commercial world, you had John Doe, who's the CTO today, that's like, oh yeah, we love Paradyme. And then the next day he went somewhere else, and then the next person that comes in is like, who? Paradyme who? I want to give my work to my friends. So we decided to delve into the federal government contracting world. And with that, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of things that we needed to get straight. So 2011 and sort of into 2012 was really when we kind of just put pen to paper and got the certifications we needed, got the different paper. So like a schedule, you need an IT schedule. You have to be, so we're a minority business, we're also a hub zone business. So all of these things require paperwork. In 2012, we were hovering at around, you know, $4 to $5 million. Both my business partner and I wanted to grow personally and professionally. So Harvard Business School has this awesome program called the Owners and Presidents Program, Owners and Presidents Management Program, OPM. And they had no revenue threshold. Now there's a revenue threshold, right? So we were like, oh my God, you're gonna accept us? We're $4 million, sure, absolutely. So we both went in different areas, and I'm talking about sitting next to billionaires, all right? Sitting next to people from China, Argentina, Mexico, I mean, like the top of the top when you think about entrepreneurs. I went in with a very different attitude. I listened, and I soaked as much as I could from my professors, from the people that were running these multi-billion or multi-million-dollar companies, and he did the same. And we came back, and we're like, okay, we need to recalibrate, because we've been stuck at this $4 million number for quite some time. So we did not change the services that we provided. You know, the services that I mentioned are still the services that we provide today. Of course, we've added some. But it's how we run our firm, right? So we became super transparent. We recalibrated our vision, our mission, our purpose. We said culture is going to be number one. So there's not one person in our firm, and we have 200 employees, that does not fit the culture bill. They all go through, I mean, even the person that's an analyst goes through a culture interview, because that's really, really important. You don't have to come to everything. You don't have to do the philanthropy that we offer, but you got to fit the collaborative, respect, open sort of concept and be willing to help attitude. And if you don't fit that, you can be a genius, you can be a PhD, you could be somebody from Boeing or Lockheed Martin or whatever. We're not going to hire you. You can only do 3 to 5 things really well, right? You cannot do all of these things and expect to get all of these things done. So we, as the go-getters and overachievers that we were, would list all of our goals for the year, and they would be like 50 goals. Like, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do that. And we would look at the end of the year, and we would be like, oh my God, we only achieved like 7 of them. And we didn't even do those 7 properly. So we took a page out of Steve Jobs' sort of methodology and said, we are only going to do 3 to 5 things every year. So when you put out to do 3 or 4 things for the year, you become so laser focused, and then your people, right? The people under you, at that time it was probably 30 or 25, I mean, they become focused, and they're like, oh, we're marching towards something. So it became very, very easy for us to grow. So, you know, in 2013, we ended the year by, we were 7 million. 2014 we did 7.9, and then we did 13, and then last year we did 20, and this year we're going to do 31. And the growth is not, I mean, the leadership, we have phenomenal leaders in our company, but it's the people. They're driven to doing something. There's a purpose.